This panel is about celebrating the multiple intelligences and multiple excellences of our students. Some of the students who actually performed last night are also here performing in a different light this morning. And they're going to talk about the work of different choreographers who they find inspiring and interesting. I would like to introduce the presenters for today. Karen Gullickson, Margaret Johnson, Galen Higgins, Jean-Marc de la Hanson, Fallon Botniak, Katrina Dickers, and Dale Jezwinski. Thank you for being here this morning.
Continuously Rich. Dunham was born in 1909 and raised in Joliet, Illinois. Pictured here with her brother, Albert Jr., the two grew up in their aunt's home after their mother died when Dunham was only 6 years old. Dunham's first dance experience came when she joined her high school's Terpsichorean club. Her father saw the after-school activity as harmless, but he had no idea dance would soon become an impetus for Dunham to leave home and begin a long, prolific career that would take her around the world and into people's very souls. Institutions for years to come. And then encompassing all of these strategies was Dunham's desire to integrate and expand the dance audience. To successfully mobilize all of these strategies is nothing short of amazing. The reframing of gender and femininity in Dunham's work is seen in the way in which her movement resists heterosexual norms. The black male bodies in her dances are objectified and sometimes even eroticized more than the black female bodies. Also, while the female dancers do not resist sensuality, they present it in a manner of strength. For Dunham to be able to produce, to operate the way she did, and still wear a flower in her hair speaks to her ability to be taken seriously, even maybe feared sometimes, rather than fall victim to the ever-present marginalization of black women.
As I said, Jermaine Academy, positioning African dance on a global stage. Jermaine Academy was born in Benin in 1944 and currently runs an international dance school and touring company out of Senegal. She is most renowned for her reimagining of contemporary African identity through dance education and performance. Jermaine Academy's work as a choreographer, dance educator, and author has made African dance relevant on a global stage. Academy's systematic implementation of her technique is rooted in cultural specificity. As a student of former I would like to present a model for the employment of Academy's technique in 3 parts. Part 1, the development of a codified technical language. Part 2, the establishment of an international training institution. And finally, Part 3, the presentation of her work to an international audience with the touring dance company, Jean-Pierre. Academy has had great success working on a global scale. Our ability to articulate a voice for contemporary Africa is uncanny. It is a loud, brutal, sweet voice, a voice that is living inside the individuals who make up the choir of contemporary African experience, a voice that is living in every dancing body that Academy reaches. Through Academy's work on the global stage, she has positioned African dance to tell the world Africa's contemporary experience with their own voices, with their own vocabulary. Because as she said in the interview we saw earlier, we are not like them, but we are contemporary.
Jawale Willa-Jo-Zoller is the artistic director and founder of Urban Bush Women, the first professional dance company comprised solely of African American women. This year, the University of Minnesota's dance department had the chance to have UBW company members restage Zoller's masterpiece work, Walking with Pearl, Southern Diaries. My writing about Walking with Pearl draws both from the choreography and performance of the original cast, as well as my own experience with restaging the work. Zoller's work is primarily concerned with contemporary social, political, and feminist issues. She employs extensive personal and academic research in order to develop choreography. Walking with Pearl, Southern Diaries, first performed in 2005, is an evening-length work based on the research of choreographer Pearl Primus during the 1950s. The piece is rooted in the Black female experience of labor, struggle, and spirituality in the Southern United States. I propose that in this particular work, like in many others, Zoller is in fact rewriting history, creating a living, breathing, moving text that is constantly transforming itself.
Throughout this section, the dancers let out vocalizations of struggle, desperation, and hope. And this last movement continues until the curtain closes. Now you'd think that because this movement comes at the end of a very exhausting section, that the dancers would begin to show their fatigue. But instead, with the energy that is created with this sense of community, they are able to transcend their fatigue in the doing.
Pearl Primus was born in Trinidad in 1919 but grew up in New York. She was encouraged to pursue higher education and studied biology, psychology, and eventually earned her doctorate in anthropology. She was trained as a modern dancer and presented African-based movement and themes in her work. When Primus started creating her own dances, she used the stage to present the life experiences and culture of Black people. She spent the summer of 1944 living and working with migrant laborers in the South, where she saw firsthand the racial violence people were experiencing there. Primus took this experience and infused her choreography with movement that reflected the particular conditions in which Black people lived. These pieces function as documents of Black life, informed by her own life experiences, as well as her travels and work as an anthropologist.
Find certain symbols. For instance, the symbol of one hand going up to the heaven and the other hand out. This was strong in the cultural history of Black people.
Pearl Primus hoped to affect the consciousness of America through her work by challenging the negative images of Black people that dominated the popular imagination. These images originated in the vaudeville, minstrelsy, and primitivist readings and portrayals of African Americans that stereotyped Black people in demeaning and contradictory ways. Primus challenged these stereotypes by revealing the humanity, the pain, the loss, and the courage that shaped the experience of the African diaspora in America. One effect this had, and perhaps one of her motivations in creating the work she did, was to provide an alternative representation of African Americans, one that was created within Black communities rather than imposed upon them by a racist society.
Giselle Mason, co-founder of Mason Rhines Productions and artistic director of Giselle Mason Performance Project, is a mid-career dancer-choreographer who works closely with issues surrounding identity and the problematic reduction of identities within cultural production. Mason's work focuses on specific dimensions of identity, including race, gender, sexuality, and class, and an investigation and criticism on how these dimensions are segregated from one another, creating problematic societal gaps in both bodily representations and social constructs. For this presentation, I'll be focusing on Mason's exploration of Blackness, as it pertains not only to the concept of skin-deep epidermal understanding of racial identity, but also the suggestion that race alone defines the entire body of work of choreography of contemporary Black artists. Our words follow a distinguished theme of racial issues and stereotypes, always coming back to the dancing body with a repeated proclamation, no less Black, I am no less Black. Mason confronts the question of what is Black enough, exclaiming in a part of the poem and movement how she is no more Black than a woman who has dropped her slave name and teaches children about fairness. With this questioning, Mason confronts the problematic understanding of Blackness, arriving directly from an ancestral connection to Africa. Mason also speaks about the blatant problematic stereotypes surrounding racial identity and how it is viewed within sociopolitics as a sole determining factor to one's identity. This is a perfect example of identicological reduction as it pertains to race, viewing race as the sole determining factor to one's identity. No Less Black comes gradually to a close, with Mason proclaiming everything that she is not, everything that within her identity does not conform to the cookie-cutter mold of blackness. Mason fights the fact that her identity and choices as a black female choreographer dancer are not solely based from the color of her skin, but from a multitude of different dimensions of self.
Napa Beatrice Combé was a female liberatory African choreographer who contributed greatly to the scene of contemporary African dance. Late Beatrice Combé's work became well known through her formation of Compagnie Cheche in 1997. From Côte d'Ivoire, Compagnie Cheche has been defined as an all-women dance company and for the strength and musculature of their choreography. One of Cheche's most definitive works was Demi, translated as shock, pain, or women's sorrow. Demi combined muscular strength with vulnerable emotion and deftly interwove images of conflict with solidarity. Danced by four women, Demi portrays women's relationships to each other through dynamic choreography, a physical relationship informed by a muscled, rhythmic, and repeated lift is suddenly yet gracefully transformed into a tight, healing embrace. The female black dancer Napa Beatrice Combé started Compagnie Cheche to show that women are not the weaker sex. In the documentary film African Dance, Sand, Drum, and Shostakovich, Combé said, "I ask myself, why not give women the possibility to express themselves, to create together, to show solidarity, to create something that would be able to make other women more sensitive and more involved?" Combé's creative impetus came from exploring resistance and solidarity in female identities, focusing particularly on the experiences of urban African women. Combé's choreography broke away from the colonial category of traditional African dance, and she rejected the category, saying, "We do modern dance. Modern dance is the dance of today, because we are people of today." She used the word modern to reflect that her work responded to her own lived experience, her own modernity, not necessarily to relate herself to the Western category or aesthetic of modern. Combé's choreography is an active resistance to internalizing this oppressive neo-colonial and neoliberal paradigm. With embodied power, she rejects that African women are weak or subservient within not only their own cultural context, but also within the global women's movement. The moments in her choreography where women of color are supporting, lifting, comforting, and fortifying each other, she displays metaphors of how female empowerment and solidarity cannot be reached within a construction of hierarchies, but within a collective process of searching for equality and self-sufficiency.
That entrance a bit of an homage to an outstanding performer and a pioneering figure in tap dance, and that is Jenny Ligon. I present to you Jenny Ligon, femininity in hands. By the time she was 14, Ligon was already a cutting-edge professional with a large repertoire of moves and skills, including knee drops, kicks, flips, slides, and many more. All of which she performed while wearing pants. This decision to wear pants would prove important, as she would, throughout her career, become a performer that would time and time again straddle the conventional forms of femininity and masculinity. It was really expected of the men that they would be doing anything that was seen as requiring a lot of technical skill. So all these polyrhythms and the tricks like the toe tips, that was really expected of the men, where the women, they were a bit subdued, really. They were expected to perform everything with a bit of a light touch. But we see both from Jenny Ligon here. She sings with that light touch, and it's as though she's kind of giving a nod to the conventional way that women were seen as performing. But then she shows that she can also execute these skillful movements. And I think we can all agree that not only does she execute it, but she executes it quite well. Her technical skill just cannot be